Hello everyone. Today we are beginning Unit 5. So this is your new packet. So today we're going to talk about bisectors and triangles. So the first theorem is if a point is on a perpendicular bisector of a segment, then it's equidistant from the endpoints. So what I'm saying is if we have a segment AB and we draw a line that's the perpendicular bisector of AB, that means every point on this perpendicular bisector is equidistant from the endpoints, and I drew that badly, from the endpoints of the segment. So that creates an isosceles triangle. If I go down here, it creates an isosceles triangle. So these are congruent, and I can do that all up and down that line. Second theorem is if a point is equidistant from the endpoints of a segment, then it's on the perpendicular bisector. So that's saying that theorem works backwards. So now use the figure to the right for exercises 1 through 5. How is WY related to XZ? Well, you can see that it's labeled as perpendicular and it's bisected. So it's the perpendicular bisector. So now we want to find XV. So XV is equal to ZV, which is labeled 4, so it's 4. WZ is going to be equal to WX because W is on the perpendicular bisector. So therefore, every point on there is equidistant from both endpoints. Therefore, WZ is 7.5. And then to find XY, again, Y is on the perpendicular bisector. So ZY is equal to XY because every point is equidistant from both ends. Therefore, XY is also 9. What kind of triangle is WXV? So WXV is a right triangle. Okay, so now I want you to pause and I want you to try exercises 6 through 10 and come back and check. Okay, so to find the value of x, I know that HI is equal to JI because I is on the perpendicular bisector of HJ. Therefore, any point is equidistant from the endpoints. So I solved that equation and I found x equals 5. Then to find HI, I substituted 5 into 3x plus 2, got 17. JI, as I said, is equal to HI, therefore it also equals 17. If L, which I've been reading, is on KI, then L is equidistant from H and J. And it doesn't matter where it is, it will be equidistant. And what type of triangle is it? Isosceles. So, where would you draw the height of a triangle? So the height goes from the vertex and is perpendicular to the base. Not necessarily the bisector, just perpendicular. So the height is also called the altitude. We're not going to do the construct part. We're just going to draw it so it's a perpendicular line from the vertex to the opposite base. Every triangle actually has 3 heights or 3 altitudes because I can draw it from any vertice. So if I was using B as the vertice, the height would be that pink line. And if I was using, let's say, C as the vertice, the height would be that purple line. Because all triangles have 3 heights. Definition. The distance from a point to a line is the length of the perpendicular segment to the point. So distance is always measured perpendicular. Theorem. If a point is on the perpendicular bisector of an angle, then the point is equidistant from the sides of the triangle. So let's take a drawing and see what we're talking about here. So if I have a triangle, actually it just says an angle, sorry, bisector of an angle. So if I have an angle and I say that this purple line is the angle bisector, meaning it creates two congruent angles, every point on that angle bisector is equidistant from the sides of the angle. But you got to remember that distance is always measured the distance that forms a right angle. So that green distance would be equal to the green, red to red. Next, if a point is on the interior of an angle is equidistant from the sides of the angle, then the point's on the angle bisector. So that's just doing that theorem backwards. So now let's see how we can use this. Find the value of y. Well, we know OS is the angle bisector because it's labeled congruent. And we know that PS and SR are the distances because they're at right angles. Therefore, since it's on the angle bisector, PS is equal to RS. So 6y is equal to 8y minus 7, meaning that y equals 3.5. So if y equals 3.5, PS is 6 times 3.5. Which is 21. RS also equals 21 because they're equal, or you could do 8 times 3.5 minus 7, which also equals 21. What type of triangle is PQS? So PQS is this triangle, and it is a right triangle. Use the figure at the right to do 15 through 21. So I want you to pause and try to do this. Okay, so to answer these, and the important thing that you need to realize is that since KP is the distance that's equal to OP, then JP is the angle bisector of LJN. So since that's the angle bisector, that means to find x, 3x plus 18 is equal to 5x. That gives me x equals 9, which means KJP equals 45 and OJP equals 45. Then we know that NM is equal to 14 because if I continue JP, it would go through M, and those are equidistant. They're labeled equal, so therefore they're 14. And since that's true, then M would have to be on the angle bisector. And then JOP is a right triangle. And that's it for today. We'll do some classwork with these tomorrow. It's important that you memorize what's true about the angle bisectors and the altitudes.